This episode contains a first-hand account of childhood sexual abuse. While the story is not described in explicit detail, it includes sensitive material that may be upsetting or difficult for some viewers or listeners. The guest, now an adult, is sharing their personal experience as a minor in an effort to bring awareness, promote understanding, and contribute to a broader conversation about healing and resilience. If you or someone you know is affected by sexual abuse, please reach out to a trusted support resource or organisation in your area. Viewer and listener discretion is advised.
I'm gonna hydrate real quick.
Hydrate.
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 Hydrate or dihydrate.
I really hate that you said that because someone else said that too.
Haha, that's hilarious.
But she's been on my podcast 3 times.
Oh, who is it?
Emily?
Yeah, I watched hers.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
so sorry.
I did watch one of them. I really like her.
Unfortunately, I agreed with you.
I'm like, I feel like there are some things that like I relate with her. Right? I mean, it could just be because we're women. Number one quote from Erin 2020, what was it, 2022? When we worked together?
Probably summer, right?
It was like, I worked.
Wasn't it after you finished school or something?
Yeah, it was like, I'm pretty sure it was 2022. Because I started in January. I started at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, damn.
So yeah.
2 years.
That's insane. Wait, 2 years? 3 years?
Because 22,
Okay, then yeah, it was probably 2023, now that I think about it. Because 2022.
But no, definitely not 24.
Certainly not 24. It was 23.
Is there something specific you wanted to start with? Empathy over judgment?
I mean, nothing in particular. I mean, if we do want to hit that point first, we can start there. Just have somewhere to start.
So how do women think? No, I'm kidding.
Think about this, and then it goes to that, and then that, and then it gets all confusing, and then it gets all, yeah.
Well, it's a spider web.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
I've noticed it depends on how it's, because I can go on the tangents and everything. That's fine. But when it doesn't make any sense why you're on that tangent, that's when I lose interest.
That's true. But I feel like I struggle with that sometimes. I go on tangents, which leads to other tangents that were like completely unrelated. I think maybe that's an ADHD thing, though. Is that an ADHD thing?
Well, I know women, like one analogous way of how they think is like they have a bunch of tabs open in a browser.
Yeah.
And then like there's maybe like 300 tabs open and you're wondering like why? So it's like you made that tangent because something else was open. That would make sense.
Yes. Yeah. I think that pretty much describes my brain. That's, yeah. I mean, I just found out apparently, now I don't know if this is true for everybody, but I went around asking people at my work, like, can you think about nothing? Like, and all of the women said no. Most of the men said yes. So it's, can you think about nothing?
I tried that. That's actually the hardest thing to do, but not the hardest thing, but I have to remind myself to do it.
Yeah.
It's like a complete depletion of mental resources.
I don't, it
Can
doesn't
you,
make any sense to
me. Can you
me.
like stare at a wall for like 2 minutes and just stare at the wall to like just think about the wall?
I mean, I can stare at the wall, but I won't be just thinking about the wall. I'll be thinking about a million things at once.
It's more of like you're not able to switch off.
Pretty much. I mean, I can calm down, but completely switching off is just not an option for me. It just doesn't happen. Even when I try to sleep, I just think and think and think until I fall asleep.
Why do you think that is?
I would probably blame mostly on my ADHD, but also just, I don't know. I always like to think and think because I always like to come up with new ideas. I think part of that is because I'm more of like the creative type. I mean, I'm a musician. I like to write music. I've always been interested in like writing as well, just like actually writing. Like I was good at English in school, and I was also very into art. So I think I'm just always thinking because it's possible that I might come up with a new idea somewhere in that thinking.
Okay, what about like your cognitive resource decline? Because and so for me, whenever like I go through the course of the day, I usually spike in the mornings for like how much work I can get done, and then after a certain point, I start getting burnout, and by the time like 6 o'clock happens, 5 or 6 o'clock, I'm just completely out of it.
Yeah.
And then sometimes like 7, 8 o'clock, I can do a little more work and then go to sleep.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, I'm actually the same exact way. In the morning, that's when I feel the most productive. But it's funny, like I'll wake up in the morning and then that's when I want to get everything done. I want to get everything done in the morning. So then the rest of the day I can kind of like relax a little bit, even though I work in the evenings because it's like my work I don't think is that hard. And my work is more, I enjoy my work. So it's more like I like to get all the hard stuff done in the morning so then I can enjoy the rest of my day kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So, because like if if I were to not do everything in the morning, then I certainly would be, I'd be too burnt out to do it in the evening. I have like a very specific routine that I stick to, and if I don't stick to it, then it's like the end of the world for me.
So what about when you're like at the end of the day, you don't have the cognitive resources? Do you ever get into that situation where you don't have the cognitive resources, but you do have the energy?
Yes.
So you get this like I can't do anything at all, but I have the energy to get it done.
Yes, all the time, actually. I feel like it's so weird because nighttime is when I have the most energy, but yet like I also don't want to do anything. It's part of it may also be because I come home to my family after working the whole evening, and I'm just like, I just want that time to spend with my family. I don't want to have to worry about anything else that I have to do at that point.
Is there like any time when between you finished everything that you want to do in the morning and then being with your family at night, is there like a time when you like just turn off for like a second or something, just let like all your thoughts just like subside a little bit, and then you can get back to it? Just to like not a mental reset, but more of like a
kind of like, are you saying like a brain break type thing? Or
yeah, kind of.
I mean,
not burnout, like
yeah,
that's bad.
I try to, like, I'll do things like if I realize I'm starting to think about too much, like I'm starting to get overwhelmed with my thoughts, I'll go take a walk or something and just try to like
de-stress.
Try to de-stress. But even still, it doesn't completely clear my mind. I don't think there's anything that will completely clear my mind, but I've kind of learned to live with it. It's not totally debilitating all the time.
When did you first get that sense of purpose to not switch off?
When you say when I got that purpose to not switch off, are you saying just like
Because at some point, like when you're like in your childhood, you have that. Well, at least for me, there was a certain level of complacency that I would just like every day. I just want to do the same thing: watch TV, play some video games, maybe just like sleep and do absolutely nothing for the day. And then at some point, I was just like, you know what? Let me start doing things. Let me start getting stuff done. Let me start thinking about what can I be doing 10 minutes from now, 20 minutes from now, an hour from now, and then keep going for that. At this point, like I can't switch off because there's like so many things that I want to get done.
Probably around high school when I started homeschooling. I started homeschooling my sophomore year. That's kind of when I just decided that was just my turning point in general. That's when I started to like decide I want to get my life together and stuff. So that was kind of like when I noticed what was going on in my brain, that it was just constantly because I used to be overwhelmed by it. Like I was like, why can't I ever shut off my brain? But now I'm like, I'm going to use this to my advantage. I'm going to see what like my brain is trying to tell me, and I'm going to use that to my advantage. See, like, so what I would do was I would start making plans for the day and then plans for my life and stuff like that, and kind of using that to kind of find myself.
Yeah. And you said that in elementary school that kind of made you alienated compared to the rest of the kids, right?
Yep, for sure.
Do you want to go into that?
Yeah, let's go into that. In elementary school, I feel like I was always very singled out. Because, well, early elementary school, it wasn't that much of a problem. The only thing that was a big problem was like kind of my behavior. Because I had like undiagnosed ADHD around that time, I was more hyperactive than a lot of my peers. And in fact, in first grade, I was the only kid, except for one other kid. There were two kids, and I was one of them that had a behavior chart in first grade, where it's like I would go in and I would get a sticker if I behaved well that day, or if I didn't, like I would get basically like lectured or whatever. But I never thought I was misbehaving. Thought I was just expressing myself. But I guess like the teachers didn't like that, the way I was expressing myself, and I never understood. I was like, why am I being punished for this? Like, I don't really know what I'm doing wrong.
Yeah. Was it just like high energy, no control, or was it there like a level of like, I'm doing this, but also not like hurting other people? Because like there's also there's one aspect where like you're controlling how much energy you're putting out, but also the uncontrolled aspect where you're messing up the room, or you're bouncing off the walls and everything.
I don't think I was uncontrolled at all. I think I was more just like, I want to do my own thing. I was very much like, I would rather be doing this than that, so I'm going to go do this. And it was like, I guess it was somewhat disruptive to like how the flow of like how school normally would go.
Did that go through all of elementary school?
Yes, it definitely did. I didn't really start realizing it until high school. High school is when I kind of became very like self-aware about all that stuff. I was like, I don't understand. I'm just trying to do my thing. And it's like, I always felt like there was something wrong with me because the teachers would make me feel like there was something wrong with me because of that.
Yeah. Why do you think you were like that?
That's actually a question that I never really thought of, other than because I think I would usually shut that down with like, oh, it's just because of my ADHD, instead of really thinking about that.
Was it that you were just against like the structure of things, against like what other people wanted rather than what you wanted for yourself?
Yeah, pretty much. I kind of just I wanted things differently than other people did. I saw things differently than other people did. A lot of the things that people would consider to be important weren't as important to me at that time. Just like, I mean, I don't know if I can give many examples other than like
Just one example.
just the stuff we'd learn in school. Like, I knew a lot, but like there were certain things that we would learn that I would kind of like test. I'd be like, so why are we learning this? What is the point of this kind of thing?
So you were basically just questioning reality,
Yeah.
questioning like not just hey, here's an input. It's like, why that input?
Yeah.
Why not that? Or
I was
that?
I would question everything. I'm like, why are we doing this? Why? Like, I needed to know why before doing something. And I don't think a lot of people my age at that time would do the same. They'd just kind of be like, yeah, we're gonna do this because like the teacher's telling me to, or somebody else is telling me to do this, so I'm gonna do it. And I'd be like, but why? Why am I doing this? Give me a good reason to do this, and then I'll do it.
So from like an early age, you've been really behind the purpose of things. Like, why is this happening? Why should I be doing this? Not just let me do this because someone else told me to.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so you've been more of a doer rather than a follower.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you get that from your parents?
Actually, I would say yes. My father was definitely like that himself. I've been told that I'm a lot like my dad. I get a lot of my traits from my dad. I even look a lot like him, so. Well, the feminine version. Yes. Yeah.
How would you describe your dad?
I think my dad is the most intelligent person I know. He's one of the most intelligent people I know. I mean, even I certainly could not reach to his level. He's always been I feel like he's always had a curious nature, always asking questions, always wanting to learn, always thinking about things from like a logical point.
What's the most persistent lesson that he's taught you?
One of the most persistent lessons that he's taught me.
Yeah, something that's not necessarily, maybe not the biggest lesson, but something that like constantly you remember and you like, in a way, keep yourself in check.
Ask the question again, because it kind of like what is a consistent lesson that I've learned from my dad?
What is the best lesson that your dad has taught you that is persistently in your mind? It doesn't have to be every single day, but like once in a while that you remember it and just like, oh, I need to go back doing that, instead of like, I guess in a way like not like staying on a good course, but it's like a lesson that he's taught you that you can always go back to that, and you're like, that's what keeps me grounded.
My gosh, I mean, there's a lot that I learned from my dad. I mean, every time I see him, we're just always having those like long conversations, and it's just like I have so much that I learned from him. I need to like think about this for a minute.
If you want to write something down, get your notes and find them.
Yeah. I don't know how to answer that. I'm like,
You can start with one and then just build on that.
my brain is blinking. That's gonna happen a lot today. Or it's just like,
Here, you want some energy?
my brain. You know what? Speaking of our brains shutting off, my brain shuts off in a different way. Whenever I try to think of something, it just like think of anything but the thing you're trying to think of.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you're always thinking, but when you intentionally think, that's when it shuts down.
Yeah, pretty much. And it doesn't, and even still, it doesn't necessarily shut down. It just starts like thinking about other things that it's not supposed to be thinking about at that moment. It's like my brain crashes.
So it's like a focus problem?
Yes, I guess that's the easiest way to put it.
Okay, so it's like if I put the pen in front of you, it's like...
That scared me.
Whoa, whoa.
Whoa.
What's one lesson that your dad has taught you? Like the first thing that comes into your mind?
Oh gosh.
Or most recent lesson that he's taught you?
Most recent lesson that he taught me. I think one of the most recent lessons that he taught me is that there are going to be some sacrifices that are to be made at certain points of your life, and they're not permanent sacrifices. It's just for the time being. So kind of like in my current situation right now, you know, I'm a young mother and I haven't really started like building my career or anything like that, but I had dreams since I was in high school of becoming a composer. So like writing music, more specifically for like films and video games. and such. And I still really want to do that. I want to pursue music, honestly, anyway, even if I were just playing an instrument in a band or something like that, I want to pursue music one way or another. But because now I'm kind of busy mothering right now, I originally got stuck in this idea like that I have to do everything right now. And I just couldn't get past that for a while. I was like, I want to be here for my son because I love my son more than anything. He's one of the most important things in my life right now. And I want to be able to raise him right, be able to spend time with him and just bond with him. But I'm also like, I also need time to work on my music, but also in the middle, I also need to focus on making money right now so we can get a bigger place for our family and just be able to support our family. And it's like those three things are kind of like, it's hard to do all three of those things at the same time. Like, it may be possible for some people, but I know that I've tried and it's brought me is stress rather than enjoying the time. Like, instead of enjoying the music that I'm playing, instead of enjoying the time that I'm spending with my son, it's just complete stress. And so I'm like, I just want to do it all at once. But he reminded me that, my father reminded me that I don't have to do everything at once. Maybe now is the time to kind of take a little pause on maybe my music. Doesn't mean that I'm going to end my career, because a lot of people think it's like do or die when it comes to parenting versus career. They're like, I have to choose one of them. But it's like, no, you don't really have to choose one of them, but you also don't have to do it all at the same time. So he kind of reminded me that now is a good time to pause and spend time with my family, like build my family, get comfortable in that. And then that maybe around the time he starts going to school or something, that's when I can start focusing on my career again. I can still do things on the side. Like, I still practice my music and stuff, but I'm not like going hard on like writing all this music, trying to find like a job and stuff. And so I think that was a really good reminder that even though now is not the time, doesn't mean that never is going to be the time. It's like there's a time for everything.
Biggest thing for that is, like, most people think that consistency means that you show up every single day or you do something every single time. But it's more of like you did it.
Yeah.
How would you define stress?
How would I define stress? Elaborate a little more. Like, how would I define how it affects me, or how would I just define stress in general?
Do you see it as a positive thing or a negative thing?
It depends. Because in certain situations, stress can be a good thing. It can be a good motivator. But in the situation that I'm talking about, like when I was trying to balance all three of those things that were important to me all at the same time, thinking that I had to do it at the same time, I think that's kind of a negative version of stress. To me, I'm going to kind of go into how it affected me. It affected me in a way in which I couldn't give my undivided attention towards anything that was important. Like, I couldn't live in the moment. I couldn't feel present because the stress was just like, because like I said before, my brain is kind of always going and going and going. So it was kind of impossible for me to be present in the moment type thing. Because I'm thinking about all these things that I need to be doing instead of like let's say I should be on the ground, like playing with my son right now. But instead I'm like thinking about all these other things. Like, what am I going to do with this music project that I'm working on? What am I going to do? Oh, no, money, like this and that. And just instead of being present in the moment. So that would be the negative stress. That just kind of burns you out, just takes you out of the moment.
What would you call, or how would you define positive stress?
I would what was I saying there? I would define positive stress as, I'm kind of like what I said before, it can be a good motivator. Like, let's say if you have a deadline for something, you may be stressed out about the deadline, but that's going to motivate you to get your work done.
So stress is also, I don't know if it's like a cousin to anxiety.
Yeah, I think in my situation, it definitely is. It's like the stress causes anxiety, maybe.
Causes anxiety. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, like, if you're not present, if you're not thinking about where you are right now, then it's like the future possibility of what could happen rather than what is happening would be anxiety.
I guess you're right. That is anxiety. Yeah.
I don't know where to go from that. You said you're more probably one interesting thing about you is that you're more logical than emotional.
I know in the past, like when people would come to me with like emotional problems and stuff, my immediate reaction was to just kind of like, okay, let's figure out what's going on here. Let's fix this problem. When a lot of times people would just want to hear like a more emotional answer, and I didn't really understand that at the time.
For women, I've seen that it's mostly like, how do I feel about the situation?
Yeah.
Why am I reacting to this way, and how does that? Would you say that men think? How does it go? The men think and women feel.
I would definitely agree with that, which is why I think my case is kind of funny, because you would think that I would be the opposite, but maybe I just think more like a man. No.
If she was a man, there would be two.
Hold on,
go on whatever tangent you want to, and then I'll see what I
was like, I got lost there.
Sorry, I do that a lot. I'll just like
No,
interrupt you like
okay.
halfway through the interrupt. Like,
No,
all right, let's talk about something else.
It's fine. I mean, I like when you ask questions. It gets me thinking sometimes.
Don't do that too much. You might hurt yourself.
Hold on, I have it. It's like I've got it. It's somewhere in there. It's just gotta.
You just went from your prefrontal cortex to your eyes. It's like go from the thinking to, whoa, what do I see?
So we were just talking about thinking versus feeling, and then I was gonna relate that to masculine and feminine energy. Man, I had something and it went away.
No, what do you want to ask?
Hold on, I'm starting to remember where I was going, which is insane.
And I still have to move the camera. No, I can't move the camera. So I'm thinking like, yeah, anyway, that doesn't matter. Or I could just physically, there we go. I could do the best next thing. Oh, no, that makes sense. Oh, okay. Right back where I started.
See, this is why I can't think.
You're just not manly enough. Come on. How would you define feminine energy?
I think what's really funny about this topic is it's actually I feel like it's kind of complex. Like, when I talk about feminine energy, I'm not talking about like the color pink and Barbies and stuff like that, or anything like that, like girly. Because I would say, I feel like I always grew up as kind of a tomboy. I was more on like, when it comes to my hobbies and such, I was more on like the masculine side, but that doesn't necessarily mean I'm like masculine as a whole. So when I talk about feminine energy, I'm kind of talking about like being able to be that, like being able to feel, kind of being a nurturer, and not just
being able to feel.
I could reword
feminine
it.
only.
Just,
like guys can't feel.
Men
You
can't feel.
You can't.
No feel.
No emotion. No emotion. How would you?
Boys don't cry. No, I'm kidding.
Because I guess like in my mind, there's a hierarchy of like what's your physical needs, your emotional needs, your spiritual needs.
Yeah.
And I think there's like a triangle or something that does there's a hierarchy of needs. I can't remember the exact order of the triangle, but just for simplicity's sake, physical, emotional, and then spiritual. It's like, because once you satisfy your physical needs, like I need food, I need water, I need shelter, then you go to your emotional needs. How do I control my thoughts, and how to control my thoughts, but also just control how I take my thoughts and put it into an action. And your spiritual need is like the morals and character. Like once I know how to walk, and once I know how to communicate, how do I refine that to to become a better person? Yeah.
Okay. It's starting to kind of come together now.
So what would you define spiritual energy as?
With how you're describing, like it's kind of more on like the moral side, I think it definitely could relate to spiritual energy.
Maybe moral's not right.
Not moral. I know there's a better...
Moral's not the right word.
Yeah, there's a better word.
Because you can have a tomboy, like, so I'm thinking masculine, feminine. Masculine is usually like aggression. It's more like, let's get stuff done, going to war, going to like let's go to Home Depot and then build something. Feminine is more like, let's nurture something. Let's create something. Let's
Yeah.
But also you get the other thing where it's like, masculine is creating, feminine is building. It's still like, it's the same idea. It's just, I don't want to say like one's more harsh, more like cold, the other one's warmer, but
yeah, which both are needed.
Yeah,
just
it's like I can't raise a kid. Like I don't have the organs for it. But at the same time, it's like, should you go to war? Probably not. Like, you shouldn't be on the battlefield because
Yeah.
there's more value to a woman than there is a man.
And what do you mean by that? Like, in what ways?
As in, like, you can create a baby, I can't.
I see what you're saying.
Right.
So you're talking about just in the
Like, there's the instinctual, physical, like, you can create life, I can't.
Yeah.
But in a sense, I have to create the resources so that you can sustain life until that life is able to think on its own, and then that's where I take it and throw it into the world.
Yeah. I guess if we're really going down to just like that, like the physical aspect of like what can a woman bring versus a man. I guess that's what you're.
That I guess that's kind of like feminine, and or maybe this is just a stupid question. I guess there is no such thing as like masculine or feminine. It's just like what women like to do and what men like to do.
But I don't think it's necessarily what we like to do. It's kind of like our instincts. Our instincts are very different. Like feminine instincts versus masculine instincts are very different from each other. I think that's the word I was going for, not energy. I'm gonna kind of like go in the route of like when it comes to relationships, like relationships with other people. I was in a very toxic relationship in middle school, which I know we're gonna touch base on shortly, and where I felt very unsafe. I felt very unsafe in that relationship, and so instead of being like somebody that's supposed to like care for people and nurture, I became very like defensive of myself. Very like I did become kind of aggressive, more aggressive than I feel like I should have been. Like I didn't want anyone to kind of come close, and I would instead of being like an empathetic person or anything like all of those like feminine qualities, not to say that men don't have these qualities as well, but it's more but women have it more to an extreme.
I think, you know what, screw it. Screw the men and women thing. Let's just make it into just how do you think? Because it sounds like that when you became defensive, you lost trust in being with people who you can naturally just be yourself around.
Yeah, pretty much. I kind of started pushing people away, and I was putting up a front of myself to make myself look like big and tough so nobody would like mess with me, so nobody could like hurt me again. So I kind of just put up a barrier.
How long did it take you before you took down that barrier?
Oh, it took me a long time. I'll admit there's still some barriers that are up that I still haven't learned to take down, but it really wasn't until I was in a relationship where I felt like where I felt safe again, which didn't happen until years later. I didn't realize that I was putting up those barriers until someone, my current partner, came in and kind of like gently took those barriers down, just helped me figure it out, helped me see better, and I just felt safe. He was the first person that I felt safe with, that I felt like I could be vulnerable. I didn't want to be seen as vulnerable, so I wouldn't get hurt again.
Do you want to talk? Do you want to go into that story?
Yeah, I think now should be a good time to go into that. So, just start from the beginning.
Wherever you want to start.
All right. So in 8th grade, I was 13 years old, and I got into a relationship with this one boy. He was 15 years old, but I mean, he was still in the same grade as me, but he was older than me. It was my first like relationship I'd ever been in, so I wasn't taught too much about relationships from my parents, or I kind of everything that I learned about relationships was just from like the internet or from what I'm seeing with my friends and stuff. So this was my very first relationship, and I kind of didn't know what it was all about. All I really wanted was to like feel loved or whatever. That's all I wanted at that time. I was still kind of trying to figure myself out, figure out like who I am and what ways I like to be loved. And so this boy, it all started out great. He would do all of the things that would make me feel loved, as in he would walk me from class to class. He would he brought me flowers one time, which I thought was very sweet. He would like always bring me gifts, and like whenever I was cold, he would let me wear a sweatshirt or whatever. That's like in middle school, it's like, oh, that's so cute. Like that's how you're making me feel seen, making me feel loved. And but then things started kind of going downhill when it started getting more serious, if you will. Like he made me feel comfortable in the beginning so that he could start making his way into doing things that I wasn't comfortable with.
So it went from like a good relationship to a more intimate relationship, and then he took advantage of that.
Yes, absolutely. I didn't at that age. I didn't know anything about like intimacy or anything. I wasn't really taught that. Of course, I knew what it was, but I've never experienced it or knew what it should be. So he starts doing things that I'm like, whoa, I don't know if I'm comfortable with this. Like he would start touching me in ways that I just like was not. I knew in my heart, I was like, I don't want this. Like my body was telling me like, I don't want this. And I would even express that verbally to him. I would be like, hey, I'm not really comfortable with this. Should we be doing this? Or we would be in school and he would be like, oh no, it's okay. This is normal. This is what people do in relationships or whatever. And so he would keep on saying that until like I finally just gave up and just let him do whatever he wanted to me. And it got to the point where at school, he would grope me. He would lift up my shirt in school and just start groping me, doing whatever he wanted to me. He followed me into the bathroom once, and I got in trouble for that, even though I didn't want him in there. I remember crying my eyes out trying to tell like the 8th grade dean that like I didn't want him in there. This wasn't my fault, and that nobody heard me, nobody saw what was going on. But and it got to the point where I really did start to believe that was normal. That I just was like, maybe I'm being too strict in not letting him do this stuff, and maybe because he's just gonna do it anyway. So what's the point in telling him no at this point? After I told him no many times, and he kept on telling me it's normal. So I guess it's normal then, right? Certainly not, but and I mean, it just kept getting worse from there. It got to the point where he would start showing me pictures of like porn stars and being like, look at her, she's so hot. Like, why can't you look like that? By the way, I'm like a 13-year-old girl, like just hitting puberty, like not even, I don't even look how I'm supposed to yet. I'm still growing. And he's showing me pictures of these fully grown women saying like, why don't you look like this? And comparing me with them and just making me feel so ugly. And, he would even like other girls would walk by in the classroom, like in the hallways, and he'd be like, dang, she's got a fat booty or whatever, like kind of saying like, ooh, she looks so good. Like, what about like, where's yours or whatever? And that's like, at 13 years old, I'm still trying to figure out like how to love myself. I don't know how to love myself yet because I'm going through a lot of changes. So that's actually a time where a lot of people my age kind of don't love themselves because it's like, what is happening to me kind of thing. And so, yeah. So my very first experience at trying to love myself, I received that. And so I was immediately taught like that I shouldn't love myself, that I am ugly. And it was just so awful. And I mean, even from there, it got worse. He would use pornography to manipulate me. Basically, he would ask me to show my body to him, and I'd be like, no, I don't want to. I'm not comfortable with that right now. He's like, okay, that's fine. I'm just going to watch my videos. And he would watch porn right in front of me because he knew that it would make me upset or that it would make me give in. Like he would ask me for nudes all the time, and I'd tell him no. And then he would threaten me for them. And so it wasn't until I found out he was cheating on me was when I broke up with him. I was like, that's when I drew the line. And it wasn't until after the relationship that I found out what had happened to me. Well, first I want to start off with, actually, no, I'm going to start off with something else. I remember being in FLE, like sex ed class, and the woman that was teaching was talking about like rape, signs of rape and sexual assault and stuff. And she was listing off like the different things, like if they force you to do this and that, that's rape. And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize what had happened to me until after the fact. I didn't know that me trying to say no and him being like, it's okay, and doing it anyways was considered rape until I was in that class.
So it wasn't just physical harassment, it was also sexual penetration, everything.
it almost got to that point. I think when it was like he basically was trying to put it in. It got to the point where I had to kick him off of me. So, I mean, I'm just so thankful that it didn't get all the way to that point, but it did get to many other points. Like, he forced me to do things that I didn't want to do to him. He forced me to basically pleasure him, and I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to do that. And, like, he would, like, grab my head, make me do things. He would, put his own hands in me, and I was like, I was never comfortable with it, but he would tell me, like, this is normal. This is normal. He would just keep on saying that, like, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. We'd be in public too, and he would do this. And I would just be, so I just could feel myself just shrinking. Like, my voice doesn't matter. That's what it made me feel like. And so after I had figured out what was going on, this one didn't take me as long this one took me longer to figure out than figuring out what happened to me. I had looked back at the type of videos that he was watching, the type of pornography he was watching. All of it was like unconsensual violence, like, because I forgot to mention, he would like pin me against a wall, like basically like choke me and force himself upon me, and tell me that was normal. And I guess it makes sense why he thought that was normal, because the porn that he was watching, all of that stuff was happening, where like the women would say no or wouldn't give consent, and the men would force themselves upon the woman anyways. And there was a lot of physical aggression that mirrored exactly what he was doing to me. And no wonder he thought that was normal. No wonder he kept on saying that's normal. Because imagine at a young age, nobody has taught you anything about sex. Yeah. So that's the only version of it that you know, is from what you see in those videos. And so he probably really did think that was normal. Not saying that what he did was okay. It's not justifying what happened, but I understand it now. And which leads me into, I'm one of my biggest passions now is to help other people that are going through that same situation, or have gone through the same situation, and educating people on what porn can actually do, like how it affects, how it causes like sexual abuse and all those kinds of things. Because a lot of people just think, oh yeah, watching is normal, but watching it as a young kid, as a 15-year-old, is absolutely not normal, and now you see why. So
that's a lot of different stuff. That was like,
yeah,
so many tangents.
I know. It's a lot of like mini subjects in there that
I don't want to go in the wrong place at the wrong time. That's all.
No, I understand.
So a lot of it was exploiting both your vulnerabilities and your insecurities.
Yeah, pretty much.
Was it that, I guess, and you said it, I think, a couple times, that you were trying to figure out how to love yourself.
Yes.
How would you define now, after the fact, how to love yourself?
Well, honestly, I think the only way I really learned how to love myself was coming to God. That was the main thing that helped me love myself again. Because it helped to remind me, like, what happened to me, how I was treated, does not reflect who I am, who I was made to be. And so I think that's what really helped me learn to love myself again.
I think one of the things you mentioned in the brainstorming is that you're getting a lot of, not pushback, but a lot of judgment from other people because you've had a kid before you were married.
Yes, or at least I feel that way. I certainly feel that way. I think that because I consider myself to be a Christian, like I consider myself to be a Christian, but yet I had a kid before marriage, which a lot of people in churches would be like, that's terrible. Like, why would you? That deliberately goes against what the Bible says. And so I feel like a lot of times when I'm walking around with my baby that I'm being judged a lot of the time. Because like I say I'm this, but then but the truth is they don't know my situation. They don't know my heart. Only God knows that. And ever since I did get pregnant, though, that's when I really started getting closer with God. So I think that, and I don't know where I wanted to go with that.
Well, in a way, it's almost like I mean, everyone has their timeline. Everyone has their own way of going through life. That it like some things don't conform with everything.
Right.
That like your timeline is not going to be the same as my timeline, and not going to be the same as the person outside's timeline or the homeless guy's timeline. Right? It's not.
Yeah.
The timeline is. I think usually it just comes down to like forgiveness.
Yeah.
It's like,
that's kind of where I was going to go next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like, can you forgive yourself? Or what was it? There's four people you have to forgive in life. To forgive everyone who's hurt you, everyone who's done you wrong, to forgive your parents, and you have to forgive yourself.
Well, I think where I was going to go was less of forgiveness, more of redeeming. I think that everyone because I'll admit, I struggle with judgment too. I'll look at some people and I'll be like, they consider themselves to be a Christian, but they're doing that. And then I quickly remind myself, like, you had a kid before marriage. Who are you to judge? Like, there are other people that are judging you right now for that, and you're over here judging them for this. So it's like, it's kind of, that's what I used to kind of humble myself. Not to say that what I did was bad or anything, but I feel like judging somebody for their, like, where they are in that timeline is denying God's ability to redeem those people. Because it's like, I was once there too. We're all in different stages of our walk with God, or even just of our walk in the world. We're all in different timelines right now, and that we need to have a little more grace for people because of where they're at. May be different. Just because they're at that, like, maybe they're not in the best place right now, doesn't mean they're going to stay in that place. So I think we need to have a little more grace for those people that are maybe not in the best time, or to your standards at least. I should throw in there.
I think there is. I don't know what like verse it is or what part of the Bible, but I think there's somewhere in the Bible where it says that the last and final judgment is by God.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what you think of it. It's like the only person that person's going to have to see at the very end of their life is God, and it's up to Him for whatever He decides is going to happen, not for me to decide or for someone else to decide.
Right. And then also, only God knows your heart. Nobody else knows your heart like God does. He sees everything. He sees your whole life. He knows what your intentions are, and He knows where you're going to go. And which is why He's the only, He can really be the only judge.
It's one of the things I did with Emily, which is Emily, Will Simpkins, low expectations, high standards. Expect nothing from anyone, but just keep yourself to that same standard that you want to keep yourself to.
Yeah.
Because no one else, well, like you said, no one else is going to know who you are.
Right.
So why does it matter?
Yeah. Because especially a lot of times, like, sometimes I'll try to justify my judgment towards other people with, like, but I knew what I was doing, or like, but I've changed, or like, but who's to say that they're not thinking the same thing? Like, that they know better, or they. Is
it possible that your judgment is in a way your mind is trying to redeem, or trying to
justify?
Not justify, no, to regain the self-esteem loss that it went through?
That is a really good way of putting it. Honestly, I could probably, yes. Yeah. I think the main reason I judge other people is to, make myself feel better about my shortcomings, about the things that other people might be judging me about.
During that time when you were with him, was it like your self-esteem and your pride in yourself, your ego just completely dropped to like a 0 point?
Or when I was with the, yeah, honestly, yeah, I would say, because for years and years after that, I would compare myself with everybody, and so that's kind of all I knew. Because judgment kind of comes from comparison.
And comparison is a thief of joy.
Yes, absolutely.
At this point, I don't have like low self-esteem. I don't have high self-esteem. I just have self-esteem.
Yeah, I feel that.
I mean, yeah, I do get prideful sometimes. Like sometimes I'd be like, I know exactly what to do about this. And
Yeah, we all do.
someone asks me about one question, I'll be like, okay, here's a 30-hour conversation I'm about to tell you. And I'll simplify it in 30 minutes. But, there's more to this.
We all do that, though. Like, I do that, certainly.
Is there a certain point where you'll see, like if you're perceiving your future self, is there a certain point where you can say that you can let go of your past, let go of what happened to you, and just like move on from that? Not 100%. I don't think the amygdala in your brain is going to remember what happened, but like, is there going to be a certain point where you can say, at this point in my life, I'm not going to let my past define my future?
Absolutely. I do see that happening. I can already kind of see the process of me going towards that. I think that, like you said, I'm not going to 100% let go of it. In fact, I'm going to continue to talk about it for as long as I live, to bring awareness to that situation and to what's going on in the world. Like, I want to use my voice, but I think I could also be able to like let go and know that like I'm safe now, that my past does not define who I am.
I guess that goes to loving yourself.
Yeah.
So how would you define love?
How would I define love? Well, I think that there are lots of different types of love. Are you talking about like, is there any particular type of love that we're talking about, or just
like if you were to take all the different types of love and then the one category of just love?
The one category of just love. Wow. I'm someone who likes to break things down, but so this is kind of
self-love. There's emotional love. There's physical love. There's relationship love. But like, if you take all the secondary words out of it and just love, how would you define the baseline of how all of that connects?
Honestly, I'm still young and still trying to figure that one out myself. Like the whole meaning of love. Because I could probably go on like many tangents about like each type of love, but the whole thing of love.
Maybe, are you more of a visual person than like audio?
Yes, I would say yes.
If you were to take a spider web and every little bit of the spider web is a different form of love, how would you define the spider web?
How would I define the spider web?
From where you are now with what you know, not so much what you will know or what you could know, just who you are now. How would you define love?
Hold on.
Doesn't have to be a perfect answer.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of where to go. Do you mind if I just like take a minute to just like write things down?
I need to organize my thoughts anyways.
Yeah. Just a little brain break.
It doesn't cost any more for 2 more minutes of footage. Like it doesn't matter.
It's such a deep question.
It just depends on how thorough you want to be with the answer.
What is love? I think love is understanding, like being able to understand people and just showing grace, putting people first, and commitment. Those were kind of the first 4 words that came to my head when you asked me like, what is love? And I guess depending on what kind of love, you can take these words and kind of go deeper into them. But those were the first 4 words that came to my head when you asked, like, what is love? Like, I think it's less of a feeling and more of like an action.
If you can, what would be like a one-liner? Love is
Commitment, I think.
It is commitment.
Yeah.
Commitment to...
I don't know that I can just put it in one sentence. I'm not great at that.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I usually just like how would you define it, and then like breaking down that definition. But if you haven't defined it before, or like, I like definitions. Like that's my little weird thing. It's just like, how do you define it, and then like breaking it down. Why do you define it that way? Until it's like until you start questioning your own reality.
Yeah.
And then I publish that online, and then we get a great podcast.
To me, love is an action. That's kind of the best one-liner that I can come up with for what love is. It's an action. It's that's where all 4 of those words that I came up with come into play. It's kind of like how can you show love to someone? You can love them by being understanding to them, showing grace to them. Like in this case, I'm kind of thinking about how like God loves me. It's like that's how I want to love other people. And then when it comes to more romantic relationships, then commitment, like love is more of a commitment than it is a feeling, because especially in long-term relationships, there are going to be times where like the feelings are just not there for a little bit. Like you're not always going to have that spark that everybody talks about. Like you have seasons when it comes to romantic relationships. I'm kind of using romantic relationships as my main
Basis.
Yeah, because that's what I'm most familiar with. But with romantic relationships, you have seasons. Like, and when I say seasons, I mean the actual seasons. Like you have a fall, you have a winter, spring, summer. You have all 4 of those in your relationships. And that spark that everybody talks about is the spring of the relationship. When I think of spring, it's like new feelings coming about. Like let's say in the very beginning of the relationship, you have that spark and everything's just so brand new and everything's just like, oh, this is amazing, so pretty, and just like new feelings you've never felt before, and it's very exciting. And summer, well, things start to get a little more serious, more intimate. And so now it feels like this is like a whole new level of like in the relationship. And then every relationship does go through a fall. It's where those new feelings start to kind of die down a little bit. Not to say that there are no feelings at all, but those new feelings, like the feeling of novelty, starts to wear off a little bit. And then which the fall can sometimes lead to the winter, where it's maybe just like you guys have had like that familiarity and are starting to kind of like maybe you guys are going through something really tough, like let's say let me just use a super basic example, like maybe finances aren't doing so well, since that's what a lot of relationships, long-term relationships, deal with. So there may be something that's kind of like causing like kind of resentment towards you too. But where the relationship goes depends on how you handle that winter. But once again, seasons come back around. So you can get past that winter. I think a lot of people think, oh, as soon as things go cold, like that means there's no more love and we need to get out of this relationship. I don't think that's true at all. And that's where the commitment comes into play. That love is not just a feeling, love is a commitment. Because at that point, all those feelings have kind of I don't want to say died down, because they're not dead forever. They've just gone dormant for whatever is going on in that relationship. But if you can go back to remembering like, why am I in this relationship in the first place? And just remind yourself of that, then I think anything can be worked out. If it's the right person, you can always work it out. And then yeah. So then after winter, after you have your winter, I don't know, I had to count my seasons. I was like, wait, what's the order again? You ever do that with like the alphabet? You're like,
No, I'm more
A,
laughing.
B, C,
I'm
D.
more laughing that you said wait. Like, where am I supposed to go? Like, what am I gonna do?
Wait, don't go. I'm not going anywhere. But after that winter, like, if you guys love each other enough, even when you don't feel like it, you can get back to that spring. Like once you get past that winter, then once again, those new feelings, they come back and it's like, look what we just got through.
From like a general sense, one definition of love, regardless of whether it's romantic, platonic, or anything in between, is doing things for other people without expecting anything in return.
Yes. Yeah.
And then romantic love, or like love where you add in the commitment part, is being there when things get tough. It's being there at their worst, rather than, well, Dave said it as in fair weather friends, people who are there at his best, but not there at his worst. There's his least favorite friends.
Yeah, yeah.
Your analogy for spring, summer, winter, fall, that's a good analogy, but like, as you were saying it, I think that's also the problem with analogies, is that they also don't really work.
Yeah, it's hard to find the right words.
Well, not so much it's words, because like nature will go spring, summer, winter, fall, but spring, summer, fall, winter. But the problem is that
you got it messed up too. See, it's just...
Sean, it's my podcast. I'm gonna edit this the way I want to edit it. But then at the same time, not every relationship is gonna be that like consistent cycle. It might be like spring, fall, summer, winter.
Yeah, that is a good point.
Fall, winter, fall, winter, fall, winter, summer, winter.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
And then like right before you die, or when you're on your deathbed, you're like spring.
Yeah.
And then you're dead. So it's like the visualization of like the earth from like going around the sun.
The way I was thinking about it like that too.
just like bouncing through the solar system.
Just like winter solstice, no summer solstice. Like
Then out of nowhere, you just add more caffeine.
oh.
So that's the problem with analogies. They don't really,
Yeah,
they
right.
work from like an external perspective, and when you start adding in like, this is not a complete analogy. It is a
Right.
analogy,
Right.
an analogy.
Metaphors, analogies, yada yada.
It's
Just like,
good for understanding something,
yes, that's what I was gonna say.
to be able to simplify a topic, but not to be the only way to look at a
Yeah.
topic.
It's to simplify a topic, but not to necessarily describe a topic,
That's-
like to give a definition to a topic.
Yeah, I think there was one video on social media that's like, where you have like the self-help gurus, you have the teachers, you have the people who are like completely independent, the ones who are dependent, the ones who say, you need a man. No, you don't need a man. You need to focus on your career. No, you should be focusing on building something. It's like everything. And then the funny part is that the algorithms will tailor to what you want to see, not so much what you want to hear. And
Or not so much what you need to hear, rather. Yeah.
and that's part of like character development. When if you look at like movies and stuff, there's the characters' wants and their needs. Their needs is what will make them a better person, will help them evolve, and their wants is what they want, but not necessarily what they need. But you like, they can overlap.
Yeah.
So it's like analogies will work, but it's like, how do you think, and what works best for you? If you want to manipulate people, you can manipulate people, but you can also use that manipulation to help other people. Because like
I'm waiting for you to. I'm listening. I'm listening.
That's a very dangerous topic unless I add more context. Manipulation is basically taking someone's insecurities, their own like emotional vulnerabilities, like who they are, and then putting it against them, or using it to do bad to them. Like, hey, you like candy? Hey, kid, you want to come into my van? Like that's manipulation. But then also, if you take those insecurities and everything, and then you make it into a better thing, like a growth thing, like, hey, I can understand you, but we can make this better. We can get rid of that insecurity.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like not manipulation, but it's like growth, but it's still the same way of thinking, because you still have to understand the person from like the implicit communication.
Yeah.
Because there's what people say and then what they do.
Yeah.
And like, if someone's like very finicky about like a topic, but they say they're very calm about it, it's like, oh, what you're doing is something, and then what you're saying is like, I will trust what you're doing. Because was there something you wanted to go off of on that? Because it looked like your gears were turning. I just was like,
No, I was honestly just listening. I'm someone, I like to listen. Like I feel like I'm very much an observer. I like to listen to people talk and like gain my information that way. As you can tell, I'm not the best with like putting my words together, which is why I'm like, it's weird. I'm good at writing. I could write a whole book on like certain topics, but if you dare like ask me about it in person, I'm like,
I wanted to go into implicit versus explicit communication. Mostly tying back to what you were experiencing and how what you were saying and what implied consent. I'm not saying like you were implying that you were consenting to it, but that I'm going to do this because I see it on social media so much that women will say they want thing, but actually want something else.
oh yeah,
And expect.
I'm not denying that. That's I think every woman does it. I mean, maybe there's a woman out there that doesn't do it, but I think most of us do it. I do it. I admit that.
Because I don't really understand it too much. At one point, is it I should listen to what you're saying rather than what you're implying versus knowing what to focus on implying? Or is that just like I have to understand the person longer?
It's kind of like you kind of just have to understand the person. It takes time because like if you know your person, then it's like you'll start to kind of catch on to patterns so you understand what they're implying versus what they're saying. Like, I know Dylan, my current partner, for example, I would do that a lot. I would say one thing, but I would actually mean another thing, or I would want him to do something and I'd kind of try to hint at it, which, let's be honest, men don't really take hints very well. But we also make hints very complicated, very complex that only like we would think of. But I would do that a lot, and then I would get mad when he wouldn't catch on to what I was trying to imply. And he'd be like, "What? Why are you mad? What is going on? Like I don't even know what's going on." I realized that I do have to be more like explicit with him. But over time, like he'll start to catch on to those patterns of me being implicit that he'll start to kind of know what I mean when I say certain things.
Yeah. Does that have to do with like when you're not in the best, because like women's cycles and everything, you're not in the best state that he should be able to know what you need before you know what you need? Because like the mixture of emotions can be blinding at times.
Honestly, yeah. Yeah. It's like, I'll certainly have moments where I'm just like, my emotions do get very overwhelming sometimes. That I'm just like, I don't know what I need right now. I don't want to think about what I need right now. So you should just know what I need and do that for. Like I have those moments where I'm like that. I'll admit where I was gonna say something. Like it's kind of like when I'm feeling a certain way, I need certain attention, but I don't want to ask for it, or like I don't want to think about what I need in that moment. So it's like, hey, what? I don't really know how to explain it. It's really weird.
Explain your thought process, and then maybe I can twist it into something that's deceptive. Deceptive is the worst word for that.
Like, let's say I'm going to use parenting as an example because that's definitely where I feel it the most, where I'm just like, I have so many things like going on. I have so many like tasks to do and I just get so overwhelmed with it that and like I need help, but I don't want to ask for help because it should be obvious that I need the help. Like I want someone to do.
So it's like you want the help, but you don't want to feel useless.
Yes, pretty much. Actually, that leads into a whole other conversation, actually.
Which is?
My tendency to want to do everything on my own. Yes. That leads into a whole other conversation. Let's go into that. So earlier on I mentioned something about me being like independent, more independent. I've always been very independent. Which is a good thing. Independence can be a great thing. But it can also not be such a great thing because I don't know how to ask for help. And I feel like I have to take everything on by myself. Like, I'm actually going to tell kind of a funny story that this is the best way that I can explain it. My dad's best friend was always around, like, when I was growing up and stuff. One time he saw my older brother pouring himself a bowl of cereal. Like, he was about to pour the milk, and then he goes up to him and is like, "Hey, do you need help with that?" And he's like, "Yes, of course. Here, please help me out." And another day he saw me pouring myself a bowl of cereal, and I was about to go pour the milk, and he comes to me and asks, "Hey, do you need help with that?" And I say, "No, I got it. Milk is all over the counter afterwards." Like, it's so that's just my personality. That's how I've always been. I've always been like, I need to figure this out by myself, or else I'm never going to understand it. I'm never going to get it. So, like, I kind of push people away because I'm like, I need to do this by myself. I need to do this. I don't know why I think that way, but it's like, I have to do it by myself. Like, it's almost like an obligation. I need to take care of my own obligations, which keeps me from asking for help or even accepting help. Because it's especially gotten more because now that I'm a mom, I'm actually living with Dylan's family right now. And they always want to help. They're always like trying to find ways to help. And I'm always like, I feel like I don't ask enough for help. And then it gets very easily overwhelming for me. It's like, why do I do that to myself? Like, but that's when being independent can be kind of more detrimental than helpful. Like, it has helped me in so many ways. Like, it's helped me figure out like who I am and such, but there are other things where it's like it gets in the way a lot of the time.
Is it not asking for help and doing things yourself is like a form of empowerment, of self-empowerment, that you feel like you're capable of things?
Honestly, yeah.
And then when you ask for help, it feels like you're less capable, even though technically you're more capable because you're being more efficient.
That's exactly it, actually. That's exactly it. Because I don't know if it's just this weird like OCD way of thinking or what, but I'm very much like, I have to do this myself or else I'll never learn how to do it by myself.
It makes sense.
Like, it's like I need to do everything by myself so I can learn how to do this. If I just keep letting other people do it for me, then I'm never going to learn, never going to figure out how to balance all that. Like, for example, like, let's say I have all these things during the day that I have to do. Like, I have to clean, I have to make food, I have to take care of my baby and stuff. And let's say I have to give him a bath or something, and somebody asks like, "Oh, you want me to give him a bath?" I'm like, "No, I have to do it because I have to learn how to balance all of these things, or else I'm never going to thrive in life." Like, kind of thing. I'm just so hard on myself for some reason. And I mean, I have been working on it. I have been getting better with it.
That's something Emily said a lot of times. I think it's just a 21-year-old problem. It's like, I guess in a sense, what I've noticed is that because everything's so new, like the amount of people that I know, the amount of relationships I'm able to have with people, like, it's all new. I've got like 20 new friends that I didn't have like a year ago. It's like, these are really good quality people. I want to keep them. And then like, as time goes on, it's just realized like people will come and go.
Yeah.
So it's almost like the same way. It's like, am I capable of doing this so that when people do come and go, I can still handle it? I guess if that's similar to what you're doing.
No, yeah, it kind of is. Just like, maybe part of it is I want to prove that I'm capable of all this stuff, but who am I proving myself to?
Yourself.
Like myself, yeah. Myself, really.
Well, it makes sense. It's when you're able to be self-sustainable, it's like the most, like, you can not only provide, but you can produce and you can do, and you're someone that other people can depend on.
That pretty much describes my life pretty well. I just want to be, I hate feeling useless. My biggest fear is to feel like I'm useless.
That's what I've been trying to do, like, right now, is to take everything that I would consciously need to understand and put it into my subconscious, so I can have that working in the background while I'm thinking about something else. It's not, you're not crazy, by the way. Just like saying
Are you sure about that? No.
Well, you're a woman, so
Yeah.
it's already pretty low standards. But
Am I though?
we've been
Plot twist.
we've been questioning that for like the last 2 years. Like, if there's anything that's happened, it's like Alena's either a dude or just like a really, really bad transgender.
Biggest plot twist of the podcast.
Dylan's a girl.
Just wait till he sees that.
You said that you're very emotionally honest. Like, you're naturally emotionally honest, and you don't like putting a mask on when you're with other people or trying to appeal to what other people want rather than like what is actually needed for the situation.
Naturally, yes, I've always been very emotionally. I've been very open and honest, like straightforward. I think that's a good word to use. I've been very straightforward about things to the point where like sometimes it's almost considered to be impolite, which I never understood growing up. Like, it was more specifically when I was younger. I would say things that other people would be like, "That's so out of pocket. Why would you say that?" But it's like, but it's honest. I'm just pointing out observations. Like, I'm very open about things, very straightforward, and a lot of people, I guess, around here, they don't take that very well.
Yeah, why do you think that is?
Kind of like before we were talking about how I like to have reasoning for everything. Part of it may just be like my way of like talking about that reason. Like it depends on like what we're talking about.
So you prefer honesty and truth over, because that's what would be the most efficient way of getting a problem solved?
Yeah.
Instead of like, I guess, part of like what I hear about corporate America is that people will push accountability in a neutral way. So it's not that they're accountable for something or that someone else is accountable, but rather it's just like no one's accountable for it. That it's like that, like, let's say a job comes to me and I had all this other stuff to do, and this just happened to be like not my priority at the time. That I was like, oh, you should go do it. And now, like a week later, someone asks what happened to that. It's like, oh, it wasn't my fault. I pushed it to this guy. And they go over to him, oh, it wasn't my fault. I thought that he had it covered. And it's like the accountability. So is it partially the accountability that you being honest with people keeps yourself accountable for the things that you don't know? Maybe accountability is not the right word for this. Accountability is not the right word. I mean, does that make sense, kind of?
Kind of. I think I know what you're getting at, but I still don't really have an answer
That
for that.
the you being straightforward eliminates any confusion on what's being talked about.
I also just like to see things for what it is. I don't like the idea of like sugarcoating things, which a lot of people do nowadays. And I just like to see things for what it is because, then I can more...
It's easier to face reality.
Yeah, pretty much. Instead of just like lying to myself about what something is, you know?
That makes sense.
But it's really funny that I say that because if Dylan were to dare say, be straightforward to me, I'd be crying. Like, it's really funny that I say that. It's weird.
Well, that's more of a... specifically Dylan.
Yeah.
Not like, well, you and your family, obviously, but like everything that's more of a family connection, not so much friends.
If somebody else were to be straightforward to me, I'd be like, okay, cool. Thanks for the input. If like Dylan or somebody were to be straightforward with me, I'd be like, I can't believe you said that. Why wouldn't you be a little nicer?
Well, I guess that comes down to vulnerability. It's that you trust Dylan, you trust your family enough to be like, can you filter out the stuff that wouldn't be the best way to handle it? Whereas if you're with a friend, it's like, you don't know everything about me.
Yeah, I see what you're getting at. That makes sense.
And then there's also, again, social media is that, and this was specifically about women. I don't know if it's also probably guys. I don't agree with it, but it's something I heard, which is that women won't be vulnerable with their partners, but will be with their friends. Which never really made any sense to me.
That doesn't make too much sense to me either.
That like the person that you trust the most, you also don't want to hurt you the most. Or maybe it's like new relationships. I don't know if that was, because there's a lot of things on social media that's like specific, like circumstantial, is like, doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. It would make more sense if they were talking about new relationships because it's like, you don't want to just be immediately completely vulnerable with someone that you just met. Because, like, take my example, for example. Like, I was a little too vulnerable to begin, but it wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault that I was too vulnerable. But he happened to catch me at a very vulnerable time. And I think with the right person, you will naturally become vulnerable. But you'll be safe. You'll feel safe being vulnerable with that person. Like, Dylan met me at a time where I was definitely not vulnerable. I was very much the opposite, where I was in that era of just like, I had my guards up, constantly pushing people away because I was like, I do not want to get hurt. I don't want to. At the point, I didn't even want a relationship at that time. But because of all that stuff that had happened to me, I was like, I'm not letting anybody close to me because, like, you know. And then we started talking, and even the whole time, I was very much like pushing him away the whole time because I was like, I don't want this to happen, but like yet somewhere deep inside me, I felt like it's okay. Just let your guard down a little bit. Like, he was the first person that I really felt safe with.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, you guys met on a baseball field.
Yes. He was on my brother's baseball team. And first time I met him was when I had to run my brother's glasses up to him because he forgot them. So I ran them up to him, and they happened to be in the dugout together. And so that was the first time we met. I mean, there were a few things that I noticed immediately when we first started talking. Like, he was genuinely interested in what I had to say.
Oh, damn.
What a loser.
Or maybe he was trying to make it seem that way.
Oh, there we go. That makes more sense.
And like, he was always actually, like, I could tell he was actually checking in on me and actually asking questions because he wanted to know, not because he wanted something with me, or wanted something from me. Because after that one relationship that I talked about, I had a few other ones before I met Dylan. And even still, none of those I would say I had ever let my guard down with those ones. And when they would, like, ask me questions or try to act interested, I could tell it's because they wanted something from me. All of those relationships wanted something, like, went into the relationship wanting a specific thing that I was not willing to give at that moment. And like, I could just kind of feel that. Like, I was like, I don't feel safe around these
How did
people.
you detect that? Because I know people can smell intention from like a mile away.
I feel like I'm one of those people. I can I just can just tell people's intentions. Like, I can just, like, feel it. Like, something just feels off. But so you asked me how
How do you detect that?
how do I detect that?
Because I feel like a woman's intuition is much better than a man's intuition when it comes to, like, be able to, like, look at someone and say, I know exactly that you're not just having a friendly relationship. It's like, oh, you want something more.
I think because women are more, like, on the emotional side.
Oh, it's so sensitive.
we think more emotionally. I think we're able to easily detect, like, other people's emotions, and like emotions behind what they're, like, intentions behind, like, how the way they're talking, the way they present themselves, and kind of like how they approach you. We can just kind of, like, tell. Like, I really have no explanation for that, but I've always been good at, like, my mom calls it vibing. Like, she's like, I can always vibe people. Like, somebody will come to me and I'll immediately know, like, what they want or, like, what who they are and stuff. Like, she calls it, like, her vibe.
It's just that I guess women naturally have more implicit communication skills. Just
Yeah.
be able to detect that the facial expressions, the micro expressions, the body language, tone of voice, eye contact level. Like, is your eye just staring, or is it, like, looking other places? Like,
Yeah. But then that also leads to, well, in my case at least, I tend to overanalyze everything because of that. Because I'm able to pick up on that stuff. I, like, start to just analyze every little thing that I'm noticing. And it's like, what does this mean? And what does that mean? And it's like, yeah.
is that because you're, like, more introverted than you are extroverted?
I guess you can say that.
The introversion of, like, holding back a little bit gives you time to detect what you're looking at before you engage extrovertedly.
Yeah, in a way, because it's really interesting because I'm extroverted in the sense that, like, I will approach people and I can make them feel welcomed, like I always make sure when I'm talking with somebody new that they feel comfortable, that they feel welcome, and I'm able to talk with them, but also I do kind of like let them talk and kind of like observe, and like I'm very much, because like I said before, I'm very much an observer, and so I kind of just watch how people like talk to me. And
do you want to take a break, or was there anything you wanted to talk about?
let me check my notes.
Oh, yay. Notes.
Yeah, notes.
My story.
Stop looking at my notes. Stop perceiving me.
You have it right in front of me. You see, English is my first language.
Oh, really?
Which is, I know it's shocking.
Did we talk much about like correction over silence?
We can go over that. I didn't know where.
Because
it's not one of the things I had. It was something that you said. So
Yeah.
how would you define correction over silence?
I was actually going to ask you that first.
Oh, so now you're interviewing
I'm
me.
interviewing you now.
Okay, I'm sorry for your loss.
I know, because I'm curious. Because I mean, I have my own like definition for that. My own like how I took when you wrote down correction over silence. I had my own version of that, but I want to know like what you thought when you had that as like one of the topics.
Correction over silence. I know what silence is. Correction as in...
I don't.
You're a woman. You're not supposed to be silent. You're supposed to overshare everything with the random people on the streets. How you correct yourself is also how you're going to correct others.
Yeah, that's true.
And from I know you well enough. Not just, I'm going to correct you because I can. I'm going to correct you because I know you well enough, and I know like that I can be honest with you, and you know how I think, and that this is like a...
Yeah.
If you like correct someone in public, like with other people watching, it's pretty insulting. If you correct them in private, they'll probably thank you later.
Right.
Benjamin Franklin.
Like if you were to correct somebody in public, it's more of like kind of like putting somebody down, like I know better than you, like, and telling the world that I know better than you, versus like correcting someone in private is like, you're actually out there to help them.
So that's what it was. Correction rather than not saying anything. That's what it was. I forgot why we had that.
Yeah. And that's what I was trying to figure out. And that's kind of what
I was going on the wrong tangent there.
Yeah.
Great. We got like 10 minutes of footage. That's going to be completely useless. Just completely confuse the audience. Like, what are you guys getting to? Oh. So correcting others. That's what it was. Correction of...
That's what I was trying to ask. It's like, are we making...
Why did you let me go down that tangent? Like I was thinking about forest. Like, what?
I don't know, because I kind of like, I was like, wait, you're kind of going somewhere?
Going nowhere. So
you're going to the river. You said you're going to the river. But which way are you going to the river?
So I guess we'll do this external, and then you can also do, which would also imply the internal. Because doing something externally and not doing it internally, that's called stupidity.
Yeah.
Which makes a lot of sense. So correcting...
Hypocrisy, perhaps.
Exactly. So how would I define correcting others, or how would I do it? I guess I kind of touched on it that when... I'm going to say this from the other Aaron that's on our mats in jiu-jitsu, which is when he said, like, the way he said it was that he won't try to help someone unless they ask for his help.
Yeah.
Which is, unless I hear the explicit, which that's obviously clicked with me. If I don't hear the explicit communication of, hey, I need help, then I'm not the one that can help them the best. Because there's a certain level of trust that has to be, that's like, oh, I think you might know how to answer this. I don't know if you are the best person to answer it, but can you help me with this problem? It's like, there's an explicit correction, in which case then I would have to, one, understand the situation, two, have them talk it out. 'Cause sometimes just talking it out is the correction itself. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then three, what's their tone of voice? Is their tone of voice very like even and low, which is like this very serious, or is it more like, oh, I have this problem and it's kind of going this way. I'm not really sure where to go with it. Can you help me with this? Like big difference in, or rather than, hey, I got this problem. I don't know what to do about it. Two different people. One is like excited to get this done. The other one's like, this has been on their mind for quite a while.
Yeah.
And while there might not be like going to the wrong direction on it, like they really care about it. Right. The other one's like, oh, well, it's just a small problem, you know?
And it seems like they really trust you to like help them with whatever.
It may not be like exclusively me. Like it's not exclusivity. Like I'm the only one who can help them, but rather I was one of the options that they chose, or I was like the first option that they chose.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the best option.
Right.
Because you don't
But
know.
I mean, that still says something about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's correction over silence is when someone asks for it, then it might be something you can help with.
Yeah.
And if not, I'll defer it to someone who I do know. Be like, hey, that seems like a problem I don't know how to solve, but I do know someone who does. Let me text them and then I'll get back to you on that.
Yeah, yeah. Would you consider it to be impolite, like if somebody weren't to ask you for help, but you just tried to help them anyways? Would that be considered impolite, or is that like circumstantial?
I might do that just because you're talking about like if I see something, I correct them without their permission.
Yeah, like something along the lines of that.
I'll do that not for their benefit, but because I want to see whether or not I can solve it. Or I can, if what I'm thinking is the best way I can do it. Like, for example, Midway Cafe, which is at XCal, they have a fridge full of drinks, and it's like different drinks, like energy drinks. You have protein shakes, got some water and stuff. And I was like, I looked at it, I was like, this looks so unorganized. There's so many better ways of looking at this. Like, why is the water at top? People need water pretty often. Why don't you put that like closer to the bottom? Plus, it's heavier. So, like, why don't you put the heavier stuff at the bottom, lighter stuff at top? And it's like, and also you have to consider that most people will look at the middle section of things before they look at the top or the bottom. So it's like, what's the best selling things? Okay, they go for that. That's the first thing that should be. And like, why do you have so many flavors? Why don't you just like to minimize the flavors and add diversity, and then like maybe on a different shelf add flavors that are not as popular? And it's like, I looked at the entire thing, was like, what's the best way to get it done? And I told one of the guys who works there and completely gave him like the best way I would do it. Yeah. And I like completely flow stated for like a solid 10 minutes of just like one after another. I was just, shut up, I'm talking here. And then it's like one after another. And then when the guy who actually is in charge of that place, like who's the sous chef, the second from the top, the one who actually can implement the change came, I completely lost everything I was going for.
Yeah.
So it's like, I can solve the problem in the moment, but if it's not for you, it's probably for me. Now, if someone, and that's where like, I'm not going to ask them for their input. I'm probably just going to spew out whatever it is. But if it's something that is explicitly, hey, I need help with something, it's like, let me understand your situation, and then I can figure out the best way of solving it.
And then kind of related, but it also helps to just kind of externalize like what you're thinking to see if it actually makes sense.
Well, I mean, screw other people's opinions.
And yeah.
Who cares about your feelings? I need to solve it.
right? Like you said, shut up. Like I'm figuring this out. But yeah, I mean, I kind of just asked if it's like considered impolite, because I feel like sometimes I step over that line where I feel like I have to help people. Like I'm always just like kind of inserting myself into their situation, because it's like, it looks like you need help, so I'm gonna insert myself and try to help. And would that be seen as like impolite?
Not if you ask for their permission. Not like, hey, do I have your permission to do this? Like, I think that's too stupid. Or like, some people I know, I don't know anyone specific. Like if I see it on TV or something, like, hey, can I be frank with you? Or can I be open with you? It's like, if you have to say that, then you probably shouldn't be saying it. But if it's like, hey, I have a question about this, or this doesn't sound right, are you doing okay? And if they're saying they're doing okay, they're doing okay.
I see. So that's why wording is important.
Wording, but also facial expressions. Like, a good friend of mine is going through some rough times right now, and I can't say what it is, obviously, because it's a personal thing. Yeah. But his, like, yesterday on the mats, his tone of voice, the way he was expressing, his body language and everything was just slightly off. It wasn't completely off, but now I also know the context of why to look out for that. But I saw it was like a little bit off, so I just checked in on him, like, hey, anything I could do to help you? Anything? Like, kept the door open, so like if he does need something, I didn't not tell him. Yeah. But also, like, I'm also not the most capable to be able to help him with everything. It's like, I can't be like, hey, if you need my home, go for it. It's like, I don't have a home.
Yeah.
I have a house. Yeah, I have a home. I have a family, but like, I don't have my own dwelling that I can be like, hey, you can pop in whenever you want.
Yeah, right.
It's one also, like, how well do you know the person? How much, you can't control how much someone trusts you. It's either they trust you or they don't. Right. Or like they don't know whether or not they trust you, which is still a no. So is it impolite? It's not impolite as long as you don't force yourself on them.
Yeah.
You do it because politeness can also be like putting a mask on. And what was the quote? Politeness is something along the lines of, when you're being polite, you're giving someone your thoughts in an organized and clean way. Where it's like all the stuff that's not needed for the conversation is out. Even though they might go on something, it's like that's not the most essential things. And then that also ties into the internal correction of like, am I like, all the muscles in my back are right now is completely strained. Like, should I get a massage? Should I stretch once in a while? I'm a guy. I don't care. That's what the caffeine's for, to overwhelm my brain with like better things to do. But like having that internal regulator, like, oh, I usually wash my face. I didn't wash my face yesterday morning. I did this morning. Thank God. I mean, you can't fix ugly, so it doesn't matter.
Can't wash it off.
You can't wash it.
Can't.
No. The nose is always going to look this big. My ear's always going to look like a monkey. Like, it doesn't matter. But it's like, my room's a little more messy than usual. Should I clean it up? Because I haven't cleaned it up in a while. It's like just the small things that no one else is going to see, but I will see. Right. And then having that like, oh, did I drink enough water? Did I eat today? Am I hungry? Did I get enough exercise? Have I socialized enough? Like, have I done the things that, while for productivity wise isn't the most important, for keeping my emotional side in check is important.
I mean, you can also go deeper and ask why. Like, oh, it looks like my room is a mess again. Instead of like, I mean, of course you can ask like, should I clean it? You can also ask why. Why is my room getting a mess? Why am I becoming less social? Like, is there something deeper going on that needs to be corrected? So it's not just those like basic things. It can go a lot deeper than that.
And it also ties into just being honest with yourself.
Yeah.
And know that, one, hold yourself to those higher standards, but two, you're still human. Yeah. You're still going to make mistakes. You're still going to see that ugly guy in church every day. Like, you don't have a choice. They're not getting any prettier, by the way.
Pray for them. No, I'm sorry.
Probably should. Or no, not pray for them. Pray for yourself. Like, I will never look like that. Maybe not the best use of prayer, but I'm just saying, like, if you had to.
I mean,
like, some things you can't change in this life. Other things, like, I've seen people who are very overweight. They have the best, like, enthusiastic personalities. Like, I'm completely, like, I don't care what you look like. You have a great personality. And then other times I see same, like, overweight people, and they're like, they have the nasty ass. I'm like, okay, it's probably because you're overweight. But also, like, people go to the gym. I've noticed, I've seen, not everyone, but I've seen a lot of people, like, it's really just how the attitude, mostly, because people, so like, especially when you're going to the gym, like, you're working out every single day, that's a lot of hormones. It's like endorphins and adrenaline and the dopamine and everything. It's like a lot. Plus you like eat a lot of food and you're like always like completely wiped. But also you can still be positive. Like there's like what was it? You don't have to always be happy, but you can be positive.
Yeah.
Did you want to tie that to something?
It reminded me of something.
Oh no.
But how everybody has different like values, like what they value, like kind of like what you were saying about how one person can be overweight but yet be like the most enthusiastic person and like and that's great for them, and then other people can be like overweight and just not doing very well. It kind of goes down to what people think is important to them, and like so kind of knowing yourself and knowing what's important to you and what are you like, because if somebody can be truly happy while being like I hate to keep using like the overweight example. Like, is there another example?
Not
like
in the best physical health, which is the explicit communication that you can see from someone.
I mean,
because you can't judge them for who they are, but you can judge them like, oh, maybe there's a correlation here. Because I mean, that one, it is still judgment, but it's also like I'm not saying because they're overweight that they're getting emotional, but rather like if I was overweight, would I be emotional?
Yeah. That's.
You didn't shut off your phone.
Sorry, it's still in.
No, it's fine.
I'll
Do you want me to turn off the...
I'll just text him and be like, hey, can't talk.
Did Aaron kidnap you?
I told him not to text me or call me. I was like, hey, I'm going into podcast. Don't ding me.
It was 2 hours. So I wouldn't be surprised.
Because I have him on emergency bypass, because you can do that. So.
Which is good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't see overweight people as like because they're overweight, but rather just like if they don't take care of themselves, is it leading to this problem?
Yeah, right.
And then you were saying your thing.
What
which I'm guessing you forgot. That you didn't want to be using the overweight example specifically.
Yeah, I want to know if there's like another example that I can use. Rather than keep on using the overweight example. It's like I feel like I'm hating on overweight people. That's not what this is.
Why are you hitting on them?
Hating. Just because like there may be people that appear overweight, but may actually be still pretty healthy, and it's like whether they're healthy physically or mentally and stuff. So that's why I'm like, is there another example that we can use? But I mean, I guess that's an okay example now that I've explained that. That I'm not just.
And I'm saying this from like I'm passing by, or I'm like I gave them like a 1-sentence conversation or something.
1 second. I'm gonna kind of like externalize my thought process right now. So we were talking
no.
about.
Okay, where's my popcorn?
They may be happy with where they are, so they have no reason to like to get themselves worked up over their appearance if that's something that's not super important to them. If they like accept it, because and then there are other people that will be the opposite. That'll say the opposite. That's like, I'm fine with where I am, but yet they're acting all miserable. It's like, are you sure you are? Like, that's kind of when the correction kind of comes in. It's like, okay, I'm not feeling so great. Why is that? And what do I need to correct? And such. But it's kind of like, I was gonna try to tie this into like, how do you know you want something? How do I tie that into that?
How do you know what you want for something?
Like, how do you know you want something? Like, how do you know something is important? What is important to you and what's not? What do you value?
It's kind of like it's not about doing the right thing. It's about knowing what's right.
Yeah.
Doing what you want. It's knowing what you want.
Yeah.
How do you know what you want? Well, self-awareness, I think, is probably the biggest thing. Just like, are you self-aware with who you are and what you currently are in? Like, can you stay in the present for 10 seconds? Or are you still thinking about the future, still thinking about your past? Because if you understand where you've been and you understand where you're going, then you understand what you have to do. And that's when you start to understand what you need and what you want. Like, I wanted a milkshake today. I was very much like, I was this close to going to Chick-fil-A and getting a good cookies and cream milkshake. But I also know that the sugar level isn't going to be too much that I won't be able to focus on here. I also know that I'm hungry right now. I want to eat. But I also know I think the best when I'm hungry. When I need to eat something, when I haven't ate anything in like a couple hours, or like I'm just like, my stomach's like, I'm gonna eat itself.
Wait, so like
While I want that, I need not to do either one.
Yeah.
Maybe do it later.
Yeah.
Or not do it at all because the sugar is really not good for me. And also I'm like probably lactose intolerant, but that's not the point. It's weird. I can't drink milk anymore. It's like, it sucks.
Yeah. No, I feel that too.
Beef, apples, cherries. My body is completely like screwing up my entire perception of how like I live. As soon as it can be peanut butter, I'll be like, I love peanut butter though.
Yeah. The body's just weird like that. It's weird like that because I get that.
Knowing what you need and what you want and whether or not you care about what you need more over what you want.
Yeah. Yep. And it's like, that's kind of how it, would you say that's kind of how you find like what's important to you and what's not? Or does that play into knowing what you need?
I would say it's one and the same. What I need is important.
Yes.
What I want is as important, depending on whether or not that want is also my need.
Yeah.
Like at this point, I try to tie in my want. At this point, like my needs and my wants are essentially the same. Well, there are a couple of things that are kind of like outliers to my wants, but like, do I need to eat? No, I could probably survive a day without eating or a couple hours without eating. It's not going to make me, like the caffeine is going to crush my appetite a lot. And do I want to get this done the best way possible? Have like a good podcast? Yes. Okay. So that ties in. There's no resistance to that.
Yeah.
And then if I like, do I want, like, I'll say this from like the romantic side of things. Do I want a girlfriend? Absolutely. Do I need a girlfriend? Probably. But am I in a position to be able to be like emotionally vulnerable, to be not emotionally, I could be emotionally vulnerable. That's not that hard. Am I emotionally available? Am I able to provide for her? Am I able to be there when she needs it? Probably not. I'm not in that position in my life. As much as I wish I was, I'm not. And until then, I can start understanding how women work. I can understand how guys work, how like understand the relationships and ask people questions that like once I do find her, I'll be able to have all this stuff subconsciously that's like always going in my mind so I can help her the best way I can. So when I get to that point, it's like my needs and my wants is 20 times better. But until then, I can just work on myself as much as I can.
Going back to the girlfriend thing real
Oh no. Oh no. This is why I don't like being emotionally vulnerable.
I'm your therapist now.
You're my therapist. You're my therapist. Oh boy.
Yikes.
I want a new therapist.
At least you're not paying for it. Yeah.
I'm not? Thank God. Wait, no, I don't like free. What was your question?
You not having those traits that you just mentioned at this moment, would you say that's stopping you from thinking you can have, like, you think you can't have a girlfriend until you have those traits?
There's 3 things that kind of tied into this. Not like the only 3 things, but the 3 things that would answer your question in the most efficient way without like going on 1,000 tangents. One, I want to be able to be self-aware to know where I'm at, what I'm capable of, what I'm able to manage.
Of course, that's important.
Kind of like what you said at the very beginning of this, like, do I want to handle everything myself, or am I just able to manage the things I can do today? Part of that also goes with the humility of knowing that I'm not perfect, and I know that who I'm going to be, well, I am perfect, but for other people, I'm not perfect. That I have the humility, and also like just self-esteem that I'm not perfect. I never will be perfect, because my understanding of what is perfect and what's not perfect will change as time goes on, and like perfection is just an illusion. But most of all is that I've met a lot of women that have gone through a lot of tough things because the guy that they were with were not emotionally mature enough to handle their needs. And I'm not saying women are useless. They are. But that the emotional maturity is more of a subconscious thing than a conscious one. Like, I can say I'm mature, but to be mature, that's another thing.
Yeah. It's always like, that's such a weird topic, because it's like, how do you know you're mature? Will you ever know? Or will you just constantly say that you're mature and then realize, oh, I wasn't mature when I said I was mature, but I'm mature now? And then it's just like a cycle.
That's why I don't say it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, whenever someone says I'm a man, I don't see that. Like, am I able to help someone? Am I able to start a family? No, I'm not. I'm not in any position to do either one. So I don't consider myself a man. But when someone says it, it's like, it's a nice reality check that, hey, I'm progressing. Like, a year ago, I wouldn't have said I was a man. I would have said I was not a man, a child or something. Like, I did not have the same sense of commitment, passion, motivation, discipline, a bunch of stuff that is still growing as time goes on. But I don't want, like, if I had a girlfriend, would I be able to help her? Yeah. But would I be able to be there all the time for her? Probably not, because I'm just too focused on what I'm doing right now.
That's fair. I see what you're
And
saying
getting
now.
to the point that if I'm not there for her, because like, one of the biggest things I've seen with the women I know is that it's like, is the attention. Can I give her enough my attention to be able to like instead of, because she might be like, kind of like you said, like, let me lay out the cards and see what, I think maybe it was Jordan Peterson who said that women have to lay out their cards just to see if there's no perceived threat. Like, they think there's a threat, but there is no threat, but they have to like go on like a 2-hour conversation like, oh, there is no threat. But it's like, they just have to explain it. Do I have the time for 2-hour conversations? Probably not.
Yeah.
Unless it's a podcast, in which case it's perfectly fine. But in that case, it's also still business. It's still like here for a purpose that hopefully will do everything better. But it's like, can I give someone an hour of my time? Yes. But if that hour then goes to an hour and a half or 2 hours, I'm going to start getting a little irritated. Like, my time is more valuable than that. Yeah. But also, I know not every problem can be solved in an hour or 2 hours.
Yeah.
Do I wish I could be with someone? Yeah. Do I think I'm capable of helping them without making them feel like they don't have the attention, they haven't been heard, or more importantly, that they're loved? Yeah. I don't know. And I don't want to be in a position where I hurt someone else and now they're trying to seek some other form of attention that's now hurting their future success. Like, I would rather have someone else screw you up than me.
Yeah. So it's kind of like what I was talking about earlier about maybe like now is just not the time. It doesn't mean that never is the time, but it's just like now you would rather focus on this one thing at this moment and then come back to that. So it's kind of like, once again, figuring out what's important to you at this moment. Okay, I see. Because I mean, what I was the reason why I asked that was because I was trying to figure out, it's like, are you trying to be perfect before finding? Okay, because that's not That's not going to happen.
Well, that's also assuming that she's going to be perfect. But she's not going to be perfect, and I'm not going to be. The best relationships I've seen, or the best women that I know, who are very much on top of their game. They're in the best physical health. They look beautiful. They have they make sure they take care of themselves, and they have like a very clear message. Like they can like keep eye contact and talk to you for a while. It was because they have someone to help them. Same thing goes with guys.
Yeah.
If the guy is also like in the best like manliest form, like they're able to help you, be able to be there for you, is probably because they have a woman behind them. It's like that synergy is very, very important. But can I be the one? Is she going to be perfect? Probably not. Am I going to be perfect? Probably not. Will we work together? I have no idea. Do I care? Not right now. That's a later problem.
If it's not important to you right now, then it doesn't really matter. Because I was gonna say kind of like what you were saying about because I know I definitely I was nowhere near perfect when I first got together with Dylan. I was still I think I was better than I was before. Had we met like 2 years before, it would never worked out. But like I wasn't perfect. I'm still not perfect, but like nobody will.
I'm glad you're saying this on the podcast, because if there's anything I've learned so far, it definitely wasn't that.
Quite to the opposite, actually. But nobody's perfect. But like because I wasn't even looking for a relationship in that time either. It wasn't something that was important to me in that moment until like I did meet him and realized, like, whoa, maybe this is. I broke it.
Damn. I knew I shouldn't have been in a relationship. Breaks the pen.
What did you just?
This is a real pen, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But like the way you were just like bent it.
Yeah, it's just plastic.
I can't do that because then I'll have to buy a new one, like $40.
Yeah, that's actually very flexible. Oh, because yeah.
Anyways, being in a relationship wasn't something that was super important to me in that moment. I wasn't looking for a relationship until I started talking to him and realized like, whoa, I'm feeling very safe with him. This might be my opportunity to take my guards down. And it was. I wouldn't have been able to do that without, I mean, maybe I would have had, I don't know, but it definitely helped me learn how to be vulnerable with someone again, which is something that I never thought I would ever be able to do. And same thing with him, without going into too much personal detail about his life. Like he wasn't perfect when he met me either. And so he's battling something and that he probably wouldn't have thought to battle or correct, since we're kind of on the topic of correction, had it not been for like being with me.
On one hand, it's like, oh, I'm not looking for someone. I am looking for someone. I'm keeping that awareness, but it's like,
yeah.
I'm not.
You're not actively searching.
Yeah, it's passively searching.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, is she? No, I'm looking at her butt too much. It happens all the time. It's like, why are you wearing flipping neon green leggings? Is that the person I'm looking for? No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I'm not looking for someone who flaunts herself in public. Is that fine? That's self-confidence. Perfectly fine. No problem with that. But it's like,
It's not what you not what you value.
do I want to see you as an object? Absolutely. Not in public.
This is going to go in the no context short.
The entire thing is no context. It still doesn't make any sense.
Do I want to be with someone, or do I want to be with someone I want to be with for 40 years?
Yeah.
It could be a pain in the butt. I know that. But it's like,
Yeah.
long term,
Right.
from that first impression is not the only impression, but it is the best impression.
Yeah.
Because like that's who you see first time. Now, are they perfect the first time? No. Are they tired? No. But are they honest? Yes, 100%. What you see is probably what you're going to get.
Yeah.
That's one thing Dave said on his podcast, second one, I think, which is, maybe it was the first, maybe the second, one of the two. Between the 4.5 hours, you guys can figure it out. That people go into like relationships thinking that they can fix someone else, but rather the person you see is probably the person you're going to get.
Yeah, right.
It's like you have to accept them for who they are. If you don't accept that, like, yes, future aspirations, who do you want to be? That's important. But knowing that you're not going to see that for a while. Maybe you just saw the tree getting planted. Maybe you're seeing a sapling, but you're not seeing the entire tree.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, don't have unrealistic expectations for someone that you probably don't know.
yeah, going back to what you said about like you can't like don't go into a relationship thinking you can fix somebody, because I learned that the hard way as someone who was, I mean, this was around the time where I started practicing my faith, but I dated an atheist, and I'm just like, so I didn't think like that would be bad at the moment, but like I went in thinking, I was like, if I do like pursue this faith, maybe I can make him do it too. And I was like, absolutely not. I mean, he was a good guy. He was a great guy. But it just, we ended up like butting heads, because like I really wanted him to be on the same page as me, but that wasn't. We agreed on that wasn't going to happen. So it's like, don't go in with the idea that you're going to fix somebody, change somebody. Don't like. I mean, pretty much just that. Don't go in with the idea that you're going to make somebody perfect for you. It's like, you should already have your set of values, and if they don't match those, because like everybody's got like their deal breakers and stuff. If they don't match those, then it's not. Don't even try.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like what you said earlier, which is that when you first start out with something, when you're first like in going to like the dating space, or you're first like getting out of the comfort zone of your parents' world, and you start going into the world that exists, any opportunity looks like a good opportunity. But then you start realizing the first choice is usually not the best choice.
Yeah.
The second choice might not be the best choice. But as you start seeing more and more people, you start understanding like how people operate, how their implicit communication. They're like,
yeah.
Like I can look at someone, and like within 10 seconds, I could be like, okay, this person thinks like me, or this person is not clicking properly, or this person just completely out of whack. I'm not going there.
Yeah.
So
I would hate to like completely backtrack. It's like, hey, we just finished this topic, but we're going to go back to this topic. Like what
topic?
Correction over silence. We kind of mostly talked about correction over silence towards an individual and towards self, but what about like towards groups? If you don't have anything, I actually, yeah.
Go ahead.
When I first heard correction over silence, the first thing that came to my mind was like using your voice. So like using your voice to bring awareness to things. Rather than being silent.
Groups, not necessarily like groups of people, but rather like social media kind of groups, like societal groups.
Yeah, societal groups.
Okay.
The first thing I thought of was like, everyone has their story, and like being able to share that story rather than being because it's something that everyone can learn from. Real quick, if you I know it's been like
no, keep going. I don't care.
Okay. Yeah, I was like, I know it's like...
It doesn't cost me anything to record more.
Yeah, I just didn't...
The only thing is just overheating, but these are not overheating, so it's fine.
At any point, if it's like going way too long...
I don't care.
Okay.
Just go.
Okay, cool.
She's so excited.
I
could talk, finally. I'm getting out of my cocoon.
Because I feel like one of the main points that I wanted to hit today was kind of like... was that big, deep story that I talked about earlier about my story in... kind of about why I share my story. So when I think of correction over silence, I think of, like I said before, using your voice to bring awareness to a situation that because I think everyone can learn something from it. So the reason why I share my story is because like my story has made people feel heard. It's given them something to relate to, and it has changed people's lives. Like, I remember when I first shared my story online, I had posted it like on my Instagram story and like talking about like why I think the way I do about like the porn industry and stuff. When I first shared my story online, Dylan asked me, he was like, why tell the internet that? Like, why would you do that? And I was like, well, were you yourself not moved by that story? Because he told me he was moved by the story. And I was like, imagine how many other people I can impact by using my voice rather than staying silent. So that's kind of like the why to my story. No, I didn't go. I don't think I went mostly just into my story rather than, hold on, like, I didn't get to fully go to where I wanted to go. What am I doing?
What you said about other people also speaking out about their stories.
I think there's like kind of like a process of healing from like a certain trauma. And let's say, I'm just going to keep using mine as an example because that's just the one that I have.
It's the only one that you know very well. Wow.
Yeah. When it first happens, it's like you're a victim. You're a victim of what has happened to you, but like it doesn't mean you're going to stay a victim forever. Like it goes from you start out as seeing yourself as a victim, then after a little bit of like processing, realizing what happened to you, you become like a survivor, kind of. And from there, you can learn to, and this takes time too. Like I think I was in kind of like the victim stage for years, which is not a bad stage to be in. But eventually, like as you process and heal, you can become a survivor, and then you can use that voice to advocate for other people who have gone through the same thing, or like educate other people who may not know about like the seriousness of the situation.
There was one of my favorite, well, one of the few, but my favorite episodes that I listened from Joe Rogan, which was with I forgot her first name. I don't know how to pronounce her first name, but Miss Park. She's a defector from North Korea, and she explains like the world in North Korea, how she escaped it, which is through human trafficking. Weirdly enough, she like in order to get over the border, she also had to go into the world of human trafficking, which is like that was a big story. But also like one of the biggest things that got me hooked was that in North Korea, there's no word in their language for I. There's no individuality. Yeah. There's like it's not a concept in the language, which is like if they didn't talk about it, I wouldn't have ever heard about it. I wouldn't have known about it.
Right.
But also as a podcast, like 3 hours long, I was like, I'm going to listen to this entire thing.
I've actually met people on both sides, which I'll elaborate in a second. So
now we're getting into something juicy. What do you mean by both sides?
So when I say, well, I did say I was going to elaborate in a second. If you would just wait, no,
no, tell me.
It's like I need to know now. So when I say on both sides, one side is like people who have gone through like sexual abuse. There have been people on that side that have come clean about, or have come out and talked to me about it, and been like, hey, your story has really made what?
I'm sorry. There was a time for that. Now is not the time. Okay. Start from the beginning.
Okay.
So you're talking to both the people who are on the sexual abuse side.
Yes. So people who have been abused, and how they're able to relate with my story. But then I've also met people who not talking about people who have abused, but let's say people who have like excessively used pornography and didn't see the problem with it until like I shared my story, and kind of like came to the realization that like, whoa, actually I do see this thing affecting me negatively, like affecting my mind, the way I think, the way I perceive women, and people for that matter. I see how this is affecting me negatively now that you've brought it to my attention. And they've said that like I've had at least 2 people that decided to stop because it's like your story changed my perception on this, and I won't be doing it anymore. So it's like I've seen people on both sides. And what was the original question when I said like I've seen people on both sides?
Original was like, how many people have told you their story, right, and been comfortable enough to say it? Because usually there's a quote that's something along the lines of like, when you start understanding people more, the more you realize that they're more similar than different.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was just wondering, like, is it like a lot of people who've like, once you shared it, that like is it like 50 people, 100 people, or is it like more of a small group but still, significant?
I would say small group but still significant. Just because like, I mean, I don't get too many like views on my Instagram stories, because I posted it on my Instagram story, and then people reached out to me being like, thank you for sharing this. This is my story. This is how your story has impacted me and my life, and how I see things. And then I've also like individually talked to people about this as well, and those individuals have been like, oh, thank you for bringing this to my attention.
It's not usually the people don't care about it, but rather they just either don't know about it, or this is the worst part, they don't have time to think about it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, hey, that was a really cool podcast that I saw you have, or not podcast, but like I saw this video on YouTube. It's like, oh, the ill effects of X, Y, and Z. Anyways, there's some dogs over here. I like to see that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like what people want and what they need. It's usually like, yeah, that is important. But right now, I just wanted to de-stress.
Yeah.
But it's like you're talking to someone's like, I can't like skip the cutscene here. I gotta listen to what you have to say.
Being able to share my story and the fact that like, even if it was only 7 people that received my story and like impacted them, that's still worth it. That is still so worth it. Even if I share my story to 100,000 people and only 100 people are changed by it, that's like a whole lifetime changed for them. So I think it's worth it. I think sharing your voice is so important. Because like you said before, not everybody would know or even think about that kind of stuff until you bring attention to it. I'm very passionate about sharing my story, not because I do not want pity for my story. I'm past that point. I'm way past that point. I don't want attention from my story either. I'm way past that. I'm like,
that was 2.5 hours ago.
I am sharing it so that I can make a change in people's lives and hopefully make a change in like how everybody I don't think that it's going to change like my one story is going to change like how society thinks, but if it can change
one person,
then that one person could possibly like change others. It's like that's how you change the world.
If you want to go a little, I just need to stand up and walk around a little bit.
Yes, yeah.
That's only, I don't mind going for more. I just need a.
What I really wanted to do was I wanted to like hit some more points about the negative effects of like the porn industry, including like the sex trafficking, sexual abuse, like destroying relationships, all that kind of stuff. But like I also don't want to like force it. How can we like segue into that?
I don't think there's any good way to segue it, just because it's a podcast, it's a conversation.
Right. That's why I'm like, I don't want to ruin the flow of the conversation because then it'll be obvious.
I mean, it doesn't really matter. So, if someone's going through like 2 hours of this thing, they're probably like somewhat interested. And I'll have timestamps and everything so people can jump around wherever.
I mean, we could just leave it for like another time. I mean, I just, as long as I just briefly got my story out there, but like, I don't want people to think I just put my story out there just because like.
Well, who cares?
Oh, I mean, yeah, right. Who cares what people think, right?
Like, you said it. What did they do? Nothing? Okay.
Yeah.
They can go eat their doggy kibble or something.
But yeah, then we could just wrap it up. We could save that for another time.
2 questions. Depending on, you can choose which one you want to start with. Who do you want to be 10 years from now? And what would you have told yourself 5 years ago?
Oh boy. That's pretty deep. I'll start off with the first one. Who do I want to be 10 years from now? I would definitely want to be someone who's like confident in who I am, and who I want to be would be like a follower of Jesus. I want to be confident in that, and that's who I am. That is my identity. And something I would tell myself 5 years ago. That one's a little bit of a harder one. That was around the age that all that stuff happened to me. I had moved away, and I just kind of like cut contact with everybody at that, because that's when all that stuff happened. And then I was at a new school, and it was just like weird for me because I was like, I didn't want any friends. Like, what would I tell myself? I'd probably tell myself like none of that stuff that happened to me was not that was not my fault. That it wasn't my fault. I think around that time when I was still processing everything, I was like, how I should have known better, and that I've somehow for some reason blamed myself for like what happened, all the things that unfolded then, like when I moved, cut contact with everybody, and then switched schools. That I was like, I felt like I wasn't worth anything. That's what I would tell myself 5 years ago. I would tell myself that you are worth something, that you do have value, in that what happened to you does not define who you are or your values or or your value. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
If you are who you are 10 years from now, what would you want that person to know about you?
Can you repeat the question?
So the first question I asked was, who do you want to be in 10 years? This question is, what would you tell yourself 10 years from now?
Me talking to my future self or future self talking to me now? Well, how would I know
that wouldn't be possible though.
Yeah.
So it would be the first one.
What if it was a question? What if I asked myself something? Like,
I can't control what you say.
like, I mean, I really don't. Actually, that doesn't really make much sense. I was gonna say like,
Don't ruin my
did
future.
you, like, did you spend your time wisely? I would probably ask. Like, did you? No, but that doesn't really make sense.
No, well,
Not relating to the person that I said I was gonna be 10
it
years
reflects
from now.
on who you are now.
Yeah.
Because if you ask yourself 10 years from now, it's like a persistent 10 years question. Not just, hey, this is who I am now. It's like, did you get one thing that I wanted today that I wasn't able to achieve right now?
Yeah.
So that's a dumb question, but it's supposed to say pertinent to this. It's related to the question, so you can ask the question.
So yeah, I guess that question would be like, did you use your time wisely? Because that's something that I feel like I'm always so hard on myself about like am I using all my time wisely? And that's what gets me all stressed out, burnt out, like we were talking about earlier. So
And then you'll probably be questioning more. Why was I talking to that idiot the entire time?
3 hours. Just I did not use my time wisely.
That
If I
was a
spoke to
terrible
you for
use of
3
time.
hours,
Like- And that was on the internet. It's like, what?
but now I know better.
Okay, cool. Anything else?
Huh.
All right.
I think that's a good way to
appreciate
wrap up. Yeah.
Damn, that's a firm grip. I hate it when women do that. It's like, fudge, you're actually intelligent.
Yeah. You know who I learned that from? What was his name? I don't remember his name.
Bruce?
Yes.
Yes. I mentioned him multiple times on the podcast,
Yeah.
but not by name, and I'll probably edit this part out. Correction or silence? I know what silence is. Correction as in...
I don't.
You're a woman. You're not supposed to be silent. You're supposed to overshare everything with the random people on the streets. Why do you think the Starbucks coffee is like a list of like 20 things? It's like, dude, just get dark coffee. Like, why are you making it complicated? Well, I guess the best question is, how would you... What is correction? Because I know silence is like lack of communication, but like is correction being able to keeping yourself within something, or is it because like if you think of a path in a forest, is correction going on the path that's clearly laid out, or is it correction like seeing the path and seeing there's a more efficient way and then going off that path?
That's a good question. I think, well, I mean, if the path is clearly laid out for you and you're walking down that path, like, and you continue to walk down that path, what correction is really happening there?
Not going off the path.
I mean, but that's not correction. That's just avoiding making a mistake.
Well, it's the same thing, because if like every step you take, it's either you go on something that's predefined or you go off something that's predefined. It's still the same action. But like one, it's the same action but different direction. So correction could be self-awareness. It could be, I guess it's mostly just self-awareness. Like, is a correction on something predefined? Like you have a plan and you stick to it, or is it, I have a goal and I want to be able to get to that goal, and I will figure it out along the way, because not everything I see now is what is getting me to that end result.
I mean, honestly, I don't think that you can't really see. I mean, it'd be amazing if you could see everything. Like you can have a plan fully laid out, but you still can't see everything that's like going to happen.
But
So
also
it's like,
well, I mean, you're right. But also staying, like if we're keeping with the forest analogy, that the trail will lead to the river, but instead of going to that part of the river, I might actually want to go to that part of the river. But this path goes to that one. It's like, is the correction like, do I just get to the river, or do I get to the river, that part of the river that I want to get to?
I kind of see where you're getting at now.
Or I could do both. Just staying on something predefined correction. And then not flexible, dynamic and also flexible. There's a better way of saying this. Or maybe another way of saying it is like, you're a river. Do you flow with the river, or do you try to figure out? No, I'll stick with the forest analogy. That's probably the better one. But then how does that go with silence? Because that doesn't make any sense. So correction over
the
being...
river is peaceful and silent.
Well, if it's so peaceful, why don't you go into the river? Because it ain't peaceful once you're halfway in. It's like... So correction over, not silence, but correction over...
Well,
stagnation is not the right word.
it depends on what we're talking about here. Like, what are, like correction over silence? Are we talking about like correction within
your question.
self?
It's your question.
Well, and I'm building off of it. We're figuring this out together.
This is not good.
All in this together.
What is correction over silence? What is correction? Well, what are we talking about?
Well, you're right. It was my question. I asked you like, what is correction over silence? And now
I'm trying to figure out.
asking for elaboration. So are we talking about
Ah,
correction
shoot.
over silence within? Gotcha.
A logical point is a logical point. I can't argue with that.
Are we talking about correction like within self, or giving somebody like correction, like helping? That's what I'm asking.
Internal or external correction.
Yes.
I would say you could do the same thing for correction. It could be both internal and external for the same idea.
Yeah.
Because how you